Jesse's calling me. There he is. And is this BP EarthWatch?
Hello, Paul.
How you doing, Jesse? Great to have you on the show today.
Oh, it's great to be here, Paul.
I'm glad you come on to be with us. There's several things we want to talk about: Yellowstone and the moving magma and the quakes down in Southern California. And then I just have to throw at you, all of a sudden, wildfires burning out of control in the West, of course, down in Southern California. But this heat dome you're talking about. So wherever you want to start, you want to start in Yellowstone and help us understand what's going on there?
Well, Paul, in Yellowstone, I think while you were gone, we had 2 quakes that were 4.3 and that average 4.4. It wasn't swarms like we saw in Southern California. And, Paul, I'm not sure if that's related to magma movement there or pressure that's incoming because, and I say incoming because of the Cascadia fault zone. It's tied through different faults all the way inland. And the scientists are saying, you may have seen the report, that the Cascadia is locked and loaded. In other words, it hasn't moved dramatically in so long that it's a high chance that it could move. But these quakes that are inland from there, because the Cascadia moves under the Pacific plate, the North American plate, so that's going to affect anything in that mountain region. We could see that, but I think there more than likely is some magma movement because we're going through a solar minimum, and the magnetic and the rotation of the Earth and the wobble magnetically is slowing down. In the last 3 years, the wobble, as far as the width of the wobble of the Earth, as far as diameter, has increased dramatically. I sent you an image about 10:30 of that particular graph. I sent you maybe a half dozen. I'm not sure if you've got Mark with you that can put this up.
Yeah.
But it was sent to Paul Begley, your email that I used. My email.
Brock, you check it?
There's one, it's a black image, and it shows the positioning of the magnetic north of our planet starting in 2013 up until today.
Okay.
And it's very, very interesting. And I think it's key to the volcanoes and the magma movement.
Okay, Brock is looking right now for it around 10:30. Brock, let's look at the clock there because I get.
It would probably say images as a title.
Okay. And how many different graphs do you have here that you want to show here today?
Maybe there's 6, and it depends on what you ask me. Is the one we'll need because.
All right, you found them.
I know you.
He's finding them now, so he's going to pull them out of my email. Get them loaded here and ready to put up on the screen for everyone to see at our website.
While he's doing that, let me say this. If you go to the USGS earthquake map, you can set the parameters. Normally, it'll come on at 2.5 plus earthquakes and per day, for that day. Or you can set it down to from 0 upward for that day. And then as you zoom in on the USGS map, over in the corner, it will give you 2 numbers. One is the total number of earthquakes today, and then the total number that you are viewing on your map. So that allows you to set the parameter over in the right in the settings to 0 at 1 day, or you can set it at 7 days. But if you want to look at what's happening today, go to 1 day and then zoom in on the South California area to Salton before your show. Now that's at 0 upward. Okay, setting that.
Okay.
But 24 of those were Southern California, so maybe between 10 and 11% of the Earth's movement was in that area of Southern California.
Wow.
Now, 24 doesn't compare to 1,000 that we were seeing per day earlier. But there's small movement. Is it settling down? We're not sure. And in the video, I said that we were dealing with magma movement. There could be another factor involved, and magma affects water and causes geothermal activity. And if you look up the Salton Sea and you look in some areas, you can see geothermal electric plants on the shore. So they tapped into water that's above the magma, and it's superheated, and that's a much safer way than nuclear, to be honest with you, or coal. If you've got existing geothermal energy, if you can tap into it without damaging the infrastructure of the cavern, then use it. And so they have. Now, what could be happening with the quakes is that magma moving north up the valley, which is a spreading, the scientists call the splitting of California. That spreading in that valley called the Saltine Fault or the Saltine Valley started in south of there in the sea that there south of there in the California Sea, Gulf of California. That split that comes out that's part of Mexico, and you have the long Gulf. Over the thousands and thousands of years, that seam has parted, and it continues to part. And if you look at one of the or two of the images I sent you, I'm using images from the International Space Station that show very accurately that parting. But going back to the magma movement, it could be under a water pocket north of the Salton Sea, and it's heating the water, and the actual steam is creating the quakes. But it's still directly related to magma movement under these water pockets. Okay. And so just to point that out, and what that does is give us the possibility, instead of a magma quake, if there were a quake, I'm not saying there is, I'm pointing out the things that I see in something that was highly unusual, and that is that amount of aftershocks.
I mean, when you just said there's been 200 earthquakes today so far around the world, and that's not 2.5 or higher, that's just any amount of quake. And over 24 of them were Southern California, so that's about, again, over 10%, 11% of the entire world's earthquake. But you were saying that at one point last week we were having 1,000 earthquakes a day in the Southern California region itself, which means that had to have been like 50 to 75% of the movement of the entire Earth was happening.
Right. If you look, that's right, Paul. In going back to that USGS map, which if you go to my website, we've got a couple hundred links. Okay. Top left, it says earthquakes, and it's the link to the USGS map. So you can go to the zero parameter, but you can go back 7 days, and that will encompass that period of time, and you can look for yourself. 1,000 per day. Just zoom into the quake area north of the Salton Sea. Remember, it started with the 5.2. Right. And I think that opened up a chamber or created fissures, let me say that, where that magma moved. And we've seen that with Mount St. Helens before. But what I was going to say, instead of an explosive type volcano as far as magma, you could have some ash. But in 1959, we had the Yellowstone Quake. And it was the same way that I'm talking about now. It was not a magma quake. It created Earthquake Lake up there in Yellowstone. Some people lost their lives. Mountains slid down the side. It dammed up that river and created that Quake Lake. I also sent you a picture or two of that incident, because in '59 there were very good color cameras. That's in the pack of images that I sent you. All right, he's looking for those, and he just gave me a thumbs up that he's found something. So that'll be coming up on the screen here. And there's a little bit of delay. You and I are on real time, Jesse, but the live stream is a little behind, like about 20 seconds or so. So he's maybe up to 30 seconds maybe or so, but he'll find those and he'll put those up there. So you've got no problem. Here you go. I'm in no hurry, Paul. Okay, here comes. Which one you got going here, Brock? Which one's this one? Colorado River. The Colorado River. Okay, Colorado River. Back in 1905, I think it was, Paul, ran into the ocean. But they had a levee system, and it broke, and that's created the Great Salton Sea. A lot of people think it's a very old geographic formation. But the thing about it, if you look at that image, it runs into the Salton Sea, and then it runs into the desert, and it's so depleted that it dissipates in the desert instead of making it to the ocean. That's been an issue with the farmers for quite a while in California that are dealing with drought in their crops. But that's a new geographic formation. And it could have happened, the levee could have broken during an earthquake. So that's new. That's something new that's happened. That's right. And it could have been during that one of those 4.3 or 4.4 earthquakes up in Yellowstone? No. What I'm saying is in 1905, when Salton Sea was formed, a levee broke. Okay. And there was a canal for the Colorado River that runs through the Grand Canyon. Okay. Well, since then, the water's been, it all goes into the Salton Sea, basically, and then it's wasted in the desert past that point, while California's in a drought with its agriculture. So, you know, I was just pointing that out. That's not an ancient formation, the Salton Sea. But if you look in that area where you see the Salton Sea and you see the Colorado River, there's a great flat area, and that's that spreading valley called the Splitting of California, and that's a technical term that rises from the Gulf of California. So my point is that possibly through these magma movements and geothermal incidents, that's how the San Andreas will be activated when it is activated. That spreading effect. Now, going back to Yellowstone just a moment before I forget it because I'm getting old, is that was a geothermal explosion, not a typical volcanic explosion. The folks there, they felt the rumbling. They rolled out of the cabins, some into the lake. Cars were pitched into the lake. But they noted there was a hot wind that was hurricane force that blew down thousands of trees around them.
Wow.
Now, that hot wind was geothermal, like
Okay.
I'm talking about down there. But, you know, it's different terrain and things like that. So, but regardless of the terrain and the strength, and that I think was a 7.6 earthquake followed by 7.5 in 1959 there. But anybody want to look that up, you can go to Wikipedia simply and type in the Yellowstone earthquake of 1959.
So Jesse, it's 1959. It was a 7.6 and a 7.5 earthquakes there. Powerful, strong, volcanic hot wind, and you know, definitely. So we've been over 50 years. I mean, we've been 57 years since that event. Is the pressure building, or is the magma moving, and we won't witness that? I mean, everybody is so concerned about the Yellowstone supervolcano erupting in a massive eruption. And just this past week, we have a guy that falls into the hot springs, and his body is completely dissolved by the acid. We had the guy scalded with the dogs and that kind of stuff. So and we've had the road melting 2 years ago. We've had the antelope and the buffalo and the deer running away. So is something happening up there?
Guys, you just saw part one of a 4-part series of over an hour interview. We went back and redoing them because we used so many diagrams on the show, and most people couldn't see those diagrams that were overlaying them, so you will have an idea of what we were discussing. Now, we've done this before, but if you call Paul Begley, or email his website, paulbegleyprophecy.com, you can get a free Bible. Not only will he buy the Bible, he will also pay the postage, and that could be very important. Some of us use electronic Bibles in these days and times, but as this earth changes and times change, you may need a physical copy. So if you need one, get it. If you have one, help other people get it. You can go here and donate right here on the donate page. I'll put a link to a site. And what we did it before, we raised a lot of money. We put a lot of Bibles in people's hands that didn't have them. That could be important to them. It could be important to you. So just a couple bucks, if that's all you got, that will help him do it. He can't do it by himself. The guy works his tail off every day, him and Heidi, and let's help him. That's all I got to say. Part 2 will be up soon, guys. Heads up, be safe.